Hi everyone. I hope you all can hear me. And my name is Shireen, and I'm going to be the moderator of the event today. And I'm so glad that you've made time to join us today. We are going to have an amazing session, and our for today is Give to Gain. And I'm happy to be joined by various panelists. So the first panelist that we have is Aya. We have Aya, and we have Elizabeth, and we're also waiting for Barbara to join us. So I hope that we're going to have an amazing session. We're also going to have Lina, but she's not going to be live in studio with us today. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can hear you and I can see you.
Amazing. Do you want me to quickly introduce myself or do you want to do that?
Yeah, you can introduce yourself and tell us a bit background about who you are, what you do, what you're doing now, and also why you're excited to join the session for today, and just what does Give to Gain mean to you. Yes.
Amazing. So, hi everyone. I'm Anya Wig from India. I run my own non-profit. It's called Her Haq, which essentially means Her Right to Equality. So, we work on gender equality in India. And how we essentially do that is by working a lot on women's health. We work on women's public policy, and we also train men and boys on menstrual hygiene. A lot of the work that we do is essentially working with adolescents on menstrual hygiene, public policy, making them more gender sensitive to what's happening in the country. Other than that, I have actually gone back to school, so I'm in law school right now. I'm in my final semester and I graduate very soon. Um, I used to work before at a foundation called Udeti Foundation, and there I used to work on women's economic empowerment. I worked a little with the UN as well, and I was a part of the Young People's Action Team a few years ago. I've also done my undergrad in history, and then I did a postgrad in international humanitarian law and human rights law. Then I work with a VC fund. Along with all of this, I also create content on LinkedIn. So I'm a content creator and a top voice for social impact. And yeah, I mean, everything else is irrelevant, but that's a little about me.
Okay, we are happy to have you. And now we can have Elizabeth.
I feel like she is
Yes.
going to come back. Maybe we can continue.
Okay, so I had also asked you the question of the theme that you have for today is Give to Gain, and I would want to know what does that mean to you, and how have you seen it working in your organization and in your life as a person?
I have, I think, one simple thought that I would talk about is simply that a lot of times when you give back to society, you gain yourself as well. So, for instance, in life, I've mentored a lot of young girls. I've sort of helped them chart out their careers. I've helped them do public speaking, communications, so much more with their life, right? But at the same time, there have been so many people who've mentored me as well for me to reach where I am today. So I feel like it's a cycle, and the more help you require, I think is the same amount, or if not the same, at least definitely more that you should give back to people, help in whatever way that you can to society. And for me, of course, that's very specific to gender rights and women. But yes, I mean that's what I think the theme means to me.
Wow, thank you. So for the next panelist that we have, she is not able to join us live today. She's called Lina. She sent her apologies, and that's because of the issues that have been happening in Lebanon and Palestine. So she could not join us live, but we were able to talk to her, and she was able to actually tell us more about herself, and we can hear from her about her background and what Give to Gain means to her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lina Abirafer. Sorry I'm not there with you live. allow me to give you a little bit of background before I dive into the first question. I am Lebanese and Palestinian, which hopefully explains my absence because my energies at this stage are focused on what is happening in both of my countries. I have worked for 30 years in women's rights, 2 decades of that in humanitarian aid focused on sexual violence prevention and response, and a decade in academia at the helm of the Arab Institute for Women. And now I run my own business. It's called Better for Women, and I will send contact information for those who would like to connect.
Yeah, so we've actually had from Lina, and yeah, so we are going to actually be listening into Aya. So I'm going to ask her a question, and the question that I want to ask you is, now that you say that you're the co-founder and you started it for young women, in your experience, what do adults and institutions actually gain when they start to genuinely listen to young women and their struggles? And what would you say to a girl anywhere in the world who wants to give her time to make a difference but is afraid she has nothing to gain by starting? Yeah, so it's basically just what would you tell to the young women that want to give something but they feel like they have nothing to give.
I'll quickly answer the first part of the question. I feel like when adults and institutions actually listen to young people, they gain so much more than just their perspective. I feel like to make inclusive strategies, to make workplaces more inclusive, and also to get representation from the other side, right? We've seen so many conversations, so many joint policy workings, we've seen so many tables that have this tokenistic representation from young people, but it truly helps when you keep young people at the helm of decision making as well. It's not just listening to what they have to say, but actually following what they have to say and counting what they have to say as important. The other would be I can imagine what young women might feel like they may not have much to add, they may not have much to give, but just the fact that they want to start a change doesn't require a lot more than just their courage and just their voice. I say this to a lot of people who want to get into the impact sector, and they keep telling me, oh, I want to start volunteering and I want to do impact work, but I don't have the time, I don't have the resources. And I just tell them that all you need is a little bit of courage and a little bit of investment from your side. You don't have to do this huge giveaway. You don't have to do a lot of charity. You don't need a lot of money. All you need is to stand by somebody and support someone else as well in the journey that they are in today. It could literally be calling out people for the sector's jokes they have if you're standing in a group, right? Change and difference isn't always big in terms of quantity. It can always be something small, but the impact could always be several folds and it could be intense, right? So yeah, that's what I would say to women across the world who really want to start something but constantly doubt themselves.
Oh, thank you so much. So it actually starts with you, and whatever little that you have, use it and you'll grow as you go. So I'm happy that Elizabeth is back with us. So I would want Elizabeth to introduce herself, give us a little bit background about herself, and also explain to us what does give to gain mean to her.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, I would like to apologize. I was having connection issues again. I hope it won't happen anymore. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Elizabeth. I am from Kenya. And my background is in agriculture and development. So I work mostly with farmers, small scale farmers, and also large scale farmers. And also, I'm the co founder of Women Full Voice. And basically, what giving to gain to me means that by sharing with others whatever we have, may it be skills, may it be our resources in whatever capacity we have, we are not just giving, but it's gonna multiply, and that way it's gonna expand the impact to other people. So you are giving, you may be thinking like you're literally just like maybe sharing with one person, but that one person will extend, and it will create like a chain reaction. So yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Elizabeth. So we're actually going to have Barbara introduce herself, give us a little bit background about yourself, what you do, and why you're excited to be at this event, and also tell us what does give to gain mean to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I humbly apologize with my internet. I don't know what happened between my phones and everything. So Edwin is going to say, Barbara, I told you so. You should have planned a little bit earlier. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me. Really, I keep saying the best way to introduce myself. My purpose, the reason why I wake up every morning is to ensure that young people know their place, and women have a voice. And that is the reason why I wake up every morning. It's in the evening, so if you see my children playing in the background, humbly forgive me. I am at home at this time. And what I do during the day, I keep saying my day job is to ensure that I live within my purpose, but my day job, I work at Uganda Development Bank. And really what I do is, they call me a teacher. I head the business advisory at Uganda Development Bank. But most of the time, what I am doing is helping young women and also trying to help SMEs ensure that they have money in their pockets to be able to transform their communities and the nation at large. I keep saying that my night job, I also have a production company, so I do a lot of music, acting, you mention it, all that I do. I'm also a professional and motivational speaker. I do a lot of consultancy work when it comes to investor readiness or trying to help SMEs find their place so that they can be able to grow their companies. So in a nutshell, that's me. Try to put everything in a small nitty-gritty package. But I'm a mom of two, 19 and 11, and I'm proud of that. Single woman, but enjoying life immensely. Glad to be here. Can't wait to hear the rest of the discussions.
Yeah, oh, okay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Barbara. I hope I heard it right. So
Yes.
I think you did not tell us what give to gain means to you, and I would want to know, what does it mean to you?
Oh, right. I humbly apologize. Okay, for me, on my end, I think as women, we cannot say that we are transforming, or we cannot say that we are moving unless we are holding another woman's hand. So I think first of all, the work you do and also Give to Gain in total, for me, speaks to me personally, because you are actually holding someone's hand. You are helping someone move from point A to point B. And a lot of times, I think when we look at these things, it's more like, if I give somebody something, I give them and then they move and they go and that's it. But with the work that you do, it is more than just me giving. I'm actually trying to walk the journey with you. And I think the fact that you walk the journey with these ladies, and and even with some of the things that I have seen that you've done, speaks to what actually I do every day. So I am glad to be here. And I can't wait to get to know you even more, because I just got to know you recently when you reached out to me.
Okay, thank you so much, Barbara, and we're also happy to have you. We are going to learn from you as much as you're going to learn from us. So I would
Excellent.
want to ask Elizabeth a question. I don't know if you're in a position to answer. So you've told us that you've worked in the agricultural, and I would want to know, what does sustainable impact look like to you? So I would want you to explain to you, how do you ensure there's sustainability so that we are taking care of not only us now, but also the future generations?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think for me, especially in the agriculture, where especially in the African context, most of the farming activities are usually done by the women. Having a sustainable impact means that for me, I've already gone on the ground. I have done my work as a change maker, and now it's the community basically no longer needs me, or the people I've been supporting no longer needs me to run their day-to-day activities. That means, like, for example, in the context of agriculture, again, because that's my specialization, it means like You have come, you have educated the women know how to farm. You have shown them the best production methods. You have shown them and brought the modern technologies and also the precise agriculture. And then by this time, they already know how to do these things, so they can carry on the activities by themselves. And then from that, they can feed their families, they can feed their communities, and they can even sell the surplus. So that is sustainability, because now, even in case there is like a disaster or something is happening, they can still be able to relearn how to do the process by themselves. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. So for the next question, it's going to be answered by Lina, who we said unfortunately she's not with us. Um, So the question that we would want her to tell us is, in terms of equality, it's a word that everyone loves to give speeches about, from the UN to corporations, but she has dedicated her life to making it real on the front lines. And we would want to understand what is the gap between what is actually being promised and what is actually being delivered on the ground. Yeah.
I've been asked about equality.
I don't know.
And promises versus action. We see a lot of those these days, unfortunately. I mean, there's ample evidence. Look how far from equality we are. I think that tells us everything about the way the world is turning and what has happened. We are losing ground. We're losing rights we thought we had. We're losing momentum, losing movements. And it's very hard to hold on to any hope that we're going to achieve it, certainly not in our lifetimes. And we know that from the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report that tells us we've got about 130 years. UN Women says we need about 300. If you look at other indicators and unpack those, we are generations, lifetimes away. And yet we still continue to hear equality as a promise, as a goal. It's very easy to put it on paper. It costs absolutely nothing to put it on paper. But what does it cost in reality?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I think we've all had her, and I'm so grateful that I can see that a lot of you are actually engaging with us and you're commenting on us. Yeah, so I can see Fola is here, I can see Imani, I can see Senska, and we are so happy to have you. And just keep the comments coming, and in case you have any question, just place it in the comment section and I'm going to ask our panelists. So yes, so some of the comments that we have are Senska is saying Happy International Women's Month. We have Fola is saying starting small is also adding to the efforts of many others. Thank you, Anya. And we have also someone who's saying, as a woman, we transform by holding another woman's hand. That is from Fola. Thank you so much. Yes. So I think we can actually continue. Just keep the comments coming and we can continue with the discussion. And in case you have any question, feel free to actually put it in the comment section. So we are going to Barbara. I'm going to ask you a question related to actually what you do, what you call your day job. I'm going to ask you that, okay, for the way that you've said that we have like access to capital and you work in a bank, what do you think could make a difference, assuming that more women were able to actually gain capital and to be able to start their own businesses? What would that make a difference if we were given the same chance that our male counterparts are given? We cannot hear you. Sorry, you're muted.
Here we are. So I got very excited, but I'm saying, how much time am I given for such an answer?
Just maybe 3 minutes.
Okay. Having been in the banking industry for quite some time, I know I'm echoing. I hope you can hear me properly.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, excellent. One of the things that fascinates me in a negative way is you have over 58% of SMEs in Africa owned by women. In my country alone, Uganda, that's like 60%. But only 30% have access to finance. And if we talk about just figures, maybe allow me being from a banking perspective, you're talking about almost $300 billion not coming into the economy because they're not supporting women. In the banking industry, so far, you have seen that it's men that mostly come to get capital. A man will risk anything, but a woman is very risk averse. And that is one of the reasons why most of us don't go for debt or credit, because we fear it. But another thing is, and I think which is very painful on my side as well, is any opportunity, even if it is for women, you will have men using their wives or children to come and have access to this money. So we have a challenge as to why we haven't tapped into financial allocation for women. And I believe there's a lot that we can do. One of the things I also have to say is that women, in my experience at least, women will always pay back. We always know that when you get money, you will pay it back. But yet we are the ones that don't get access to this money. But it's not even about getting access, we fear getting it. On top of fearing getting it, most of us are very informal in our spaces. Now we are talking about women SMEs. So yes, there's a very big gap, and there is so much we can do to fill that gap. And I'm thinking we shall talk about that as we continue with the conversation, since I've been given a few minutes to talk about this. But one thing I want to end with, and one thing why we should also be proud as women, is any income that we get as women, we are the ones that do the social and economic transformation in our communities and in our nations. So it doesn't matter whether we get the funding or not, but the little money that we have, we are able to do that, the socioeconomic transformation. But the gap is still huge. And from a banking perspective, there's a lot more that we can do in the space of women so that they can have access to finance, and we get the 300 billion in the continent. I hope that kind of answers the question in a few minutes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so we're actually missing out a lot by a lot of women actually not having access to like the capital and the money. So
Yes.
I don't know if you have any question to ask, kindly ask. And let's continue. We can talk to Aya. She can tell us more about maybe in terms of the legal gaps. We are seeing that right now there have been so many cases of femicide in the country. Even South Africa, there was such cases and people are protesting, and it was women. And the enforcement is where they fall apart. So what do you feel like right now that you're actually even studying law? What do you feel could be done differently so that there's no gap between what is actually said and what is actually enforced in the ground? Like people actually feel the impact of these rules that exist in the countries. Yes.
Thanks for that question, Sharon. So here's what I would say, right? Even in countries like India, we have some phenomenal policies and we have great laws that are in practice. The only problem is that a lot of times policy on paper doesn't turn into policy in action. And here's the difference in sort of implementation. Why you can get your communities to sort of be more active and you can have community based enforcement, I feel like that shouldn't lead to your informal justice systems, and I don't think it should replace the process of law, because what ends up happening is that a lot of these informal systems and a lot of communities themselves follow and reinforce patriarchal norms and patriarchal structures. I feel like a lot of these communities may marginalize women further. I think what we do need right now is the collaboration of policy, community, implementation, and enforcement, which means that our pillars of democracy. So in India, we sort of always talk very boastfully about three pillars of democracy. You have your judiciary, you have your executive, and you have your journalists, and you have the news. So you have your lawmakers and your justice makers, and you have your lawyers, but you also have people, right? So policy will only come into action when people stop becoming silent, when accountability isn't just an exception, it's the norm, right? So, your police forces, your executive, and those that are enforcing the law need to be more active. There cannot be any selective justice. But at the same time, I feel like educational institutions, for example, or media, for that example, needs to be more gender sensitive in the way that they sort of educate people, spread awareness. I feel like if educational institutions were to be better at the way that they teach students and also sensitize them, even sensitize families for all I care, we would have more implementation of our policies. And the other is actually pulling up institutions that should be held accountable, right? You have your politicians and you have people that you vote into power, but do we really hold them accountable? I don't think so. So we need to figure out better mechanisms where, if policy on paper is not converting into action, how can citizens and communities come together to make the people that they have voted into power more accountable? So, you need accountability. You, of course, need collaboration. You need communities to come together. But I don't think that it has to be a replacement of the system that already exists. We just have to figure out a way to make our existing system more effective. And of course, at the same time, shatter all the stigma and the stereotypes that already exist in society.
Okay, thank you so much. And do you like have a particular way that you would actually say that as women, as ourselves, we can actually protect ourselves? I'd say like ensure that each one of us is actually safe wherever they are. Are there like policies that you think could help in terms of us locally, like not
Um,
waiting until it has happened, preventive?
um, I have very conflicting thoughts, so I'm going to try my best to bring them together, but also talk about the thoughts that I have. One is, I feel like there is this unequal balance or unequal pressure on women to always protect themselves, right? Why is it that every time I step out on the road, I need to make sure that nobody harasses me? The responsibility is not on me to get not get harassed. The responsibility is on the other people to not harass me. The responsibility is on our social system, our police system, our surveillance system, our governments to make sure that I am safe. So there's a difference between being safe and being surveilled, right? It brings me back to the moment that a lot of times we tell women, oh, you should dress more modestly when you step out so that you are safe from X, Y, Z. Or we keep telling women that, um, you were wearing something that was revealing, or you were out at a certain point of time at night, which is why you were more susceptible to harm. I don't think it's always on women to take care of getting in harm's way. It is the people that cause the harm that should be held accountable, and the responsibility is on the systems that exist. That's number one. Number two, however, would be once you've been in harm's way, once your rights have been violated, once something has gone wrong, I feel like the best way for a woman to be protected is to know about their rights. And that's when I feel like a lot of nonprofits, a lot of social organizations, even of course the government comes into play, where we need to make sure that women across borders, across countries, across districts in our own countries know more, not just about the rights that exist, so that when they're violated, they know of the rights that have been violated, but also how to implement those rights, right? So, for example, in India, you have a huge consortium of rights for women, be it domestic violence, sexual harassment, right to property, right to maternity leave, right to abortion, so much that you have. There's a huge, I would say, India has a very feminist outlook towards rights of women, right? But it only makes sense when women actually know the kind of rights that exist for them. So for us, I feel like the best way to go ahead is not always making sure or overburdening ourselves with this responsibility of being safe and being protected, but knowing our rights and making sure we also know how to implement them in the real world in case they get violated.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. So I hope the justice system and everyone around ensures that we have an easy time in actually making sure that we are just not looking behind our backs, but we are actually safe and sound, just like our male counterparts when they are walking around, they are safe. Yeah, there are exceptions, but most of the times it's us women who have the safety issues. So we are actually going to go to the next person who is not with us, who is Lina, and we would want to understand from her perspective what does she feel about the global aid system that spends a lot of money on women's empowerment every year. Is it the problem that we aren't giving enough money or that we aren't giving power away? If we shifted funding to be led by local women on the ground, what would the world gain in terms of a sustainable change? So I hope we can actually listen into
My
her
second
views.
question is on aid effectiveness. Well, you heard me in the first one. I don't think we are effective. Where is the money going? What are the billions that we allocate to women's rights, to women's equality? Where are they? They're not there. First of all, I mean, we're losing ground in terms of aid funding overall. That much we know. I'm sure that's a conversation that you all have had. But the reality as well is we claim to support women's rights, but when you look at it dollar for dollar, it's a fraction. It's a fraction of a percentage point to women's organizations in context of crisis, for instance. I mean, the numbers are there. We have the facts to prove that the money that we spend on women's empowerment is not reaching local women's organizations. It's not reaching women's movements. It's not reaching feminist movements. It's not reaching young women. It's not reaching other marginalized groups. We talk about localization, a beautiful buzzword, again, peppered on our reports and in our documents, but where is it in reality? And why do we even need to argue for that? How is it that we actually need to say that local women should, of course they need to lead. We don't need a buzzword to tell us that. It's a no-brainer for me. I mean, the problem again is not just about the money. It is about who's controlling it and who's making the decisions, who has the purse strings and who ties them very tightly. Because the funding, as we know, is flowing through layers of intermediaries, and grassroots groups, the ones who are doing the real work on the ground, end up fighting for the scraps. And the organizations that are small, that have existed long before donors discovered the country or the issue, and that will continue long after donors exit the country, those are the ones where donors say, well, they're too small and they can't absorb the money and they don't have the capacity. So donors continue to fund the donor darlings, the same organizations, and stretch those so very thin that they risk collapse, and then pit the others against each other in this pool where we're all scrambling for scraps. We're all fighting. It's not working. The modality of aid distribution is insufficient, is misguided, it's going in the wrong direction, it's ineffective, and it's not working. So imagine allowing women to take charge, to give them a pooled fund to be able to access and use in the ways that they want for whatever they want. Not just short-term, quick impact, project-based stuff. No, long-term, meaningful, funding operational costs. Running NGOs, I remember the funding that we're given to implement project X or Y stretches us out like an accordion, and then we shrink back in again because we've lost that money. And this is not a way to build an organization. It's not a way to sustain a movement. So if power and resources actually shifted to women on the ground, that's where we would see the deeper change.
Yeah, so we've heard from her, and now we can go to Elizabeth. You've actually told us about the way that you're passionate about helping women in the agricultural sector. And I would want to ask you, in a country such as maybe Kenya or the African countries where a lot of people do farming, but the women, they do it, but they are not the decision makers. They are not the ones in the boards. What do you think if women were given more access to it would help in terms of the economic growth and just building the economy and themselves?
Thank you so much, Shireen. It's so interesting actually listening to everybody because regardless of the field you're in as a woman, it looks like the challenges we face, they are literally the same thing. We are talking about access to land, access to finance, access to funding, access to training opportunities. So all these things, they are all like intertwined depending on, regardless of the field you're in. Um, Women gonna be working in the field, but they don't have ownerships. That means they, if you don't have ownership, you're not gonna have access to funding, because when you're going to get credit, you need to show your asset, and if you don't have assets, if the assets are not in your name, definitely you're not gonna get credit. So all these things, they're like very intertwined. So we need to give women access to land. Women need to own land, because that one, if they own land, then they will be able to access finances, and then also training opportunities, because they have something to show for the work they are doing. And with that, they can also end up being like in leadership positions, because most of the time you need to have the assets for you to be able to be like in this board that people are talking about, land, finance, funding, and all these other things. So we really need to be able to give women access to land, which is like, for example, in Kenya, mostly land is owned by men, but women are mostly the ones who are working in those land. And we also need to understand that giving women access to these things is not actually about fairness. It's one of the smartest actually developmental strategies, because women reinvest in education, women reinvest in food system, women reinvest in health. So it's like, if you're investing in a woman, if you're giving women access to things, just know you are reinvesting in the community. And by reinvesting in your own community, you're just developing. You start by developing your family, the community, the country, and the world at large. So the most important thing that women need is actually like access to land, finance, that is like access to credit, access to funding opportunities and training, and also like leadership opportunities. Yeah.
And
Thank you,
do you
Shireen.
have, okay, welcome. I wanted to ask, do you feel like there's a particular reason that we have been so slow in terms of getting at par with men compared to the more developed economies?
I think mostly is that traditionally, like for example, in Kenya and in Africa generally, actually, land ownership traditionally is owned by men. So if we start by that, the title deeds and all these documents, they are mostly owned by men. And now we need to break that barrier, whereby like even it's now that women are starting to even inherit land that was owned by their parents, land that was owned by their grandparents. It's just now that women have access, are starting, actually, it's not already there. It's just now that women are starting to have like access to that land ownership. So I think we are still struggling with our traditional beliefs, which sometimes they can be positive and sometimes they can be negative. So if we are able to break these barriers, these traditional barriers, and understand, like, for us to develop as a community, we need to include women, we need to include young people, because that's the only way we're going to have a holistic development. Because if you're leaving some people behind and you think you're going to be developing a certain group of people, that's not going to work, because it's all a chain. We are all interconnected. We all need to support each other. So we need to break these barriers, these cultural barriers, these traditional barriers. And I think if we are able to do that, it will be easier for us to like have access to all these things.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. So, uh, Barbara, I would want to know, now that you're in the finance banking industry and you've been able to work with more than 500,000 students to bring up their entrepreneurial ideas, what do you think that we as a society gain by making sure that, especially the girls, maybe actually even the boys, you can speak about that too, but especially the what do we gain when they're actually able to be supported in terms of their entrepreneurial dreams?
I'm going to speak about it, let me start with the young girls.
Yes.
I mentor on average around 20 young women. But the irony is, I mentor around 50 young men. So I have more men or young boys coming to me for mentorship than young ladies. And what I have seen is, unless you hold another young woman's hand, it is going to be impossible for that girl to move or to be elevated to where she needs to be. In my experience with young people, they really want to learn, they want to know, but most importantly, they want to find out who they are and what value they need to add. One of the things that is really killing our young people today, especially our young ladies, let me talk about young ladies, is validation. And I think for the young ladies here, you can attain with me. I have dealt with most of the girls in school, and it is all about, what can I do to be seen and to be appreciated? And
I think we've lost her.
Barbara, we've lost you. We cannot hear you.
yes,
Are you in a
can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I humbly apologize. And because of that, many young women have gotten into, what can I call them? Group associations, things that make them feel loved, especially with social media today, but that don't add value. So for most of the young people that I have dealt with, we've had to deal with identity, what my purpose is, what value I'm bringing, and what environment can I survive and thrive in. And for all the business entities that we've worked with for young people, that was the first step we took. So when we talk about young people and what do we gain from helping them is not finances first. Helping young people is for them to understand what value they are bringing, what problem they are solving, and what help they need to be able to solution for that problem. And for me, those were the biggest things, that for anyone who's wanting to help young people, if you have not done that step, then the rest is then you're not going to do any favors for them. So anything to do with mindset change, anything to do with finding purpose, things to do with how can the things that I have, aka social media, the kinds of networks that I have, the kinds of friends, even in school, for example, how do I get started in school with the kinds of friends I have? Or even if it means finding myself to drive my entrepreneurial, I don't know, innovative mind, what do I need to do? So bottom line, if you are not hand-holding a young person and guiding them to find themselves, most of them will appear lost. And in the businesses that we've supported, because I'm always looking at young innovations and things like that, I think in a week I look at like 50 of those or more. Most of them always innovate around tech and apps because it's the easy thing to do. And with the AI, you can do anything. The problem with that is you come with an app, and let me use Elizabeth's example in agriculture. We have a place here in northern Uganda called Karamoja. 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, a young man comes with a beautiful idea on how to put, I think it was water in the northern region, but on top of that, be able to track his projects using this app. The place I'm talking about doesn't have infrastructure to handle this kind of to handle this kind of technology. The idea was excellent. The solution was excellent, but for the wrong district, if that makes any sense. So he couldn't find any funders until we sat down with him to understand what his problem was. What was that thing he wanted to solve? His thing was very simple. He said, we have water, but we struggle with our crops because we don't have water. It's an oxymoron. But he started in the wrong region. Now, if we had guided this young man from the beginning, maybe his idea would have been funded. Now, bringing that forward to a young woman who was, in fact, most of my clothes are tailored because I prefer young women and what they do to our bodies because they are very interesting looking. And this young woman who came with the idea, and her job was just to accessorize. She says, I just want to accessorize. So she does everything from hair pieces to little small things. She just accessorizes. And she just loved that. But she was fully employed. Okay? When we discussed about the things that she enjoyed, we asked her, actually, I asked her, why are you in employment? Because she's like, I do this other thing for fun. And you see, I was told I have to be hired. I have to be in an office. I have to be working. So we had to change that mindset. Now, as I speak, she's doing so well on Instagram after she left employment. And there are so many stories like that of young people who, after you engage with them and help them understand what their value is and what their purpose is, most of them eventually rediscover themselves and look at entrepreneurship or ways to transform their communities in a different way. I hand over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Adora. Yeah, so actually transforming the entrepreneur is not only finances, it's actually someone
Exactly.
sitting down with you and seeing the problem that you have and working with you through the journey of understanding it. So thank you
Exactly.
so much for that. So yeah, we are going to speak with Aya and we are going to ask her something related with something she said she's passionate about. She's talked about she loves creating content, and I would that is a form of storytelling. So I would want you to tell us, since you use storytelling as a tool for advocacy, how does giving a woman the platform to share her narrative create a ripple effect that lawmakers cannot ignore? Or what do we as a global community gain when we center the voices of those most affected by inequality? Yeah, so
Thank
what
you.
to you?
I feel like social media is a really powerful platform, and I say that in a positive and a negative sense. Um, I think it gives us the power to bring grassroots stories on ground to the online medium, and it helps us reach millions of people across the world, across borders, across time zones. But at the same time, it can be really daunting as well. Um, on the good side of it, I've seen so many stories of women, and let's just talk about the Me Too movement, right, for a second here. We had so many women share their experiences of what they face, a lot of time anonymously, a lot of times non-anonymously, about the harassment that they faced across countries, across borders, regardless of where they were. This movement brought so many women together and held so many men accountable for what they had done to women. And I feel like that is a strong example of how online movements can actually show us the impact in real life, even in terms of law, right? When this movement came up, it gave women so much courage to actually file cases against men, to actually support each other and go to court. Against what we were facing, either at workplaces or beyond workplaces, even within families, even within friendships, etc. Right? We've seen colleagues, we've seen so much more in terms of the violence that women face, be it anywhere else. And I feel like that one movement changed so much. For generations of women to come together, right? You had people who were over the age of 50, you had people who were under the age of 20 sharing what they have been through, and giving them the platform to sort of share, but also give this camaraderie where they could come together and they felt like they had a safety net to do that. That's number one. The other, of course, however, is very scary today, right? With the advancement of AI, we see how especially young men are using AI to distort images of women online. We're seeing how fake narratives get sent. We've seen how people morph images of women, which is a really scary place to be. And we need better policies, we need better norms, and we need better guidelines, and to hold these social media platforms accountable for what's happening on the platforms. I've seen several Reddit groups and Telegram groups where we've seen so many pictures of women, be it famous women or non famous women, come out, right? So I feel like as a global community, we need to come together not just for the higher of the highs and share powerful stories, raise money, raise awareness, talk about our work, but also make sure that if this is happening, we keep these platforms, we keep these people accountable for what they're doing in terms of violating women. And I really feel like, in terms of a ripple effect, and this is quickly what I would say because I don't want to speak for too long, is I feel if your content can sit in somebody's mind the next time they're saying something in a different context, and your face pops up in their mind before they crack a really bad joke, or they take a woman's case, or they say something very sexist, or they say something very patriarchal, I think you've done your job. I give this example to a lot of people. I feel like a lot of my friends are no longer my friends, or there are a lot of people around me who think twice before speaking what they have to say, simply because of the stuff that I say online and simply because of what I stand for. And I feel that in itself is ripple effect. I don't think you have to constantly go viral or have 100 million followers to create an effect. If somebody can be accountable around you, or even when you're not there, just because of something you said, I think you've done your job. And social media really, really helps you do that. So, of course, there are pros and cons, but this is the only place where I would try to be optimistic and say that women can really sort of lead better lives, and lead movements to make sure that we're there for each other as a global community on the internet.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that and for touching on the positivity and the negativity. And since you have other commitments, we I would just want to ask you, like, for each person who is here, maybe they are male, they are female, what is one piece of advice that you would give to them when they want to give to gain? And also, we would, maybe someone might want to actually connect with you further, maybe on your LinkedIn or your Facebook or your Instagram. So if you're comfortable, you can actually share your handles. Yes.
I'll quickly say this, and I tell this to everybody around me. The one thing that I say is, don't let others decide what your dreams are. We live in such a patriarchal world that even from a very young age, we start dreaming in a very gender stereotypical way. Young girl students want to just be teachers, nurses, and they never want to be an astronaut, or they don't want to be a football player because they don't see enough women on the other side. So don't let the world dictate what your dreams are. If you want to be an astronaut, if you want to, I don't know, be a football player, you should do that. And not just because you can't do it, but because you really want to. And I feel like we can tackle these norms. And everybody can connect with me on my LinkedIn. My handle is the same, Anya Vig. And I'm so happy that I was on the panel with Elizabeth, Barbara, and of course, Lena and Shannon. Thank you so much for moderating this. Sorry, it's almost 11 p.m. in India, so I have to drop off. But it was so much fun, and I'm hoping that I can connect with all of you separately. Have a good day.
Have a good day too, and we are so grateful that you are able to join us. So, yes, guys, do not drop off. We've only given her permission, but we are going to continue the discussion. We are not going to take so long. and then we are going to finish. So since some people have shared their comments, I can see someone is saying that she loves what Elizabeth is talking about when it comes to the empowerment and access that women need in the agricultural sector. My contribution is that the society forgets that even at the production level where women play a big role, they get to make very important decisions, and that is a reason enough to give them more powerful positions. Amazing, amazing. And also happy International Women's Day. Yes, so we can go to Elizabeth. I think we can I can ask you the last question, which is, since your work involves both women and youth, how do you see the dynamic of give to gain playing out between these two groups? And what can experienced women leaders give to young people, and what unique gains can the energy and innovation of young bring to other established women? So sorry. I think Elizabeth has dropped off, so we are going to be with Barbara for in the meantime as we wait for her to come back on. So yeah, so Barbara, I can ask you the last question, which is on imposter syndrome and power. So you've spent 2 decades mentoring women to think bigger. So often women feel that they have to their authenticity to fit into corporate boxes, or they wait until they are perfect to step up. What do women actually gain when they stop waiting for permission and step fully into their power? And also, how do you get rid of that imposter syndrome and feeling like you're not enough even in the corporate space? Yeah.
So, Shireen, one thing I've learned, and it's a statement that is said quite often: fortune favors the bold. And let me tell you, men use that 110%. In my years of hiring new people in an entity, or working with young business partners, or even getting people in my shows, if a man knows, even if it's 10%, he will attempt. He'll at least fake it till he makes it. If a woman doesn't know at least 90%, she's not going to attempt. And ladies, that is the one thing that is killing us. Because we feel we don't deserve to sit in that boardroom, to go and seek that funding for that job position, or for that particular partnership, or even be it a consultancy. We have whatever it takes. If I can tell you a secret, because now I've been on this earth for 45 plus years, one of the things I've learned is, if there's something you want to do, whether it is from a business perspective, or it is a job, or whatever it is, if you just want to do it, you're good enough to do it. You don't need to be at 100%. Because the irony with life is, no one ever knows anything until they start their journey. And that's why this imposter syndrome for women is killing us across the board. Let me use an example of a lady. Her name is Phoebe. She does Boran cows. I'm using agriculture because Elizabeth is here, so that we can be on the same page. When I met Elizabeth in my training classes, the very first time, she was very quiet. She always thought she was not good enough. She was always the first in class and the last to leave. And she came from 200 kilometers away from where our training was. You can imagine. But she made it for those 3 months. Towards the end of the 3 months, she looked at me and said, I always thought I didn't have what it took for me to be successful in the business that I am doing. By the time we had left, I can tell you, she had already made partnerships and had already gotten buyers for her cows. By the time they graduated, she was already called for 4 gigs to train women across the country. You can imagine someone who thought that they did have what it took. But once she attended the classes, she got into a space where she believed in herself. So this thing of that we call what do you call it? This imposter syndrome thing. It is like depression. If you allow it to attack you, it will. And as women, if there's one thing we need to do, and if there's one thing we can all take away today, if you do not believe in yourself and you believe you will fail, you will fail. If you believe you will do something, you will do it. And otherwise, the imposter syndrome has taken most of our women, both in employment and in business, where someone stays in a safe place. We need to learn to be uncomfortable, because that is the only way we can move to the next step. So I'm hoping that kind of explains how much power you have without allowing the imposter syndrome to come in your world. Because the first thing of fear brings imposter syndrome. And when that comes in, that means you can't move. What you have is your next best thing. And as women, we cannot have that. Because I strongly believe when you empower a woman, you empower a nation.
Yes, and
Over
in
to you,
that
my dear.
note, yes, Elizabeth has something to add to what you're saying. I think we would want to hear from you.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you, Balbra. We are also, even as a panelist, we are also learning from you. And I think that's like really powerful, because at whichever stage we are at in life, we always, that imposter syndrome tries to pop in at any stage. It doesn't matter. And as a woman, I think it's even more. So I just wanted to appreciate Barbara for her comments. Yeah.
Wow, thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Barbara. And Elizabeth, now you can answer the last question. And also on that note, I wanted to say I've also been in the construction industry, and I've seen that a lot of men actually have audacity, even if they do not know actually what they are doing, and that is why they end up getting to the higher positions. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, Elizabeth, if you could answer, because your work involves both women and youth. How do you see the dynamic of give to gain playing out between the two groups, between the youth and the women? And what can experienced women leader give to young people? And what unique gains can the energy and innovation of youth bring to the established women? Yeah, Elizabeth, can
Yeah,
you hear
thank
me?
you. Yes. Um, I think this is such a shared ecosystem. You can literally not separate women from youth, because women are the mothers of these youth. So usually, most of the time, you'll find them working together. And the more experienced women, definitely they bring the indigenous knowledge. They know more about the community. They know the community dynamics. They have the long-term thinking. They understand the seasons in terms of agriculture. They understand what is the planting season, harvesting, weeding. So they understand, they have more of the traditional knowledge, the indigenous knowledge, that is. And most of the indigenous knowledge you cannot learn in class, while the young people bring the knowledge that is from class. As Barbara was saying, they know a lot about tech. They know a lot about innovation. They know about smart agriculture. So imagine, like the example she was giving, of the Karamoja guy. Imagine if that person had included the women in that community when he was coming up with this idea. So you include the women because they are already there in the community. They know what they are doing. They know what works and what doesn't work. And that's the problem, because um, uh, most times people don't want to listen to women, but women know. We know things. Women, women know most of the things. So if you include them, if you ask them question, they will give you feedback. They will tell you what is likely to work in this community. You can, as you were saying, you cannot just come with the technology. We have a lot of technologies right now, but you need to understand where you're taking this technology. If there is infrastructure, as Barbara was commenting on that as well, if there is if the people are willing to accept your knowledge. And the only way people are also willing to accept you and accept your knowledge is if you involve them. You start from the ground. You involve the women. You ask them questions. So that when I'm going to develop that technology, when I'm going to develop that innovation, when I'm going to write that business proposal, when I'm going to write that proposal for funding a project, I know what is on the ground. And that is the only way we can, they really cannot work in isolation. Because once you work with in isolation, that's when you go back to the community, even to the funders, because they in these funding opportunities also there are women there, they can see this is not going to work, as Barbara was saying. Like, she's not in agriculture, but just by looking at the concept, she knows how Karamoja is. I've been to Karamoja, so I know the place very well. So by looking at it, she already knows that this is not going to work in this community. And why did that happen? Because these young people, probably they did not involve the people on the ground. So we have to collaborate, we have to work together in order to create that balance of wisdom and innovation. And that is the only way we're going to have transformation in our communities. Yeah. Did we lose Shireen?
I was wondering the same thing.
Okay, she's
There she is.
back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I had an issue with my internet. I hope you completed it. And yeah, it's a shared ecosystem. We cannot exist without, we need each other. So on the last question that we had to Lina, who was not here with us, we wanted to understand, after the decades of her working with women in the most difficult circumstances, what has it taught her about resilience? And in a world that often tries to take everything from us women, what is one thing that they should never give up, and what could the rest of us gain by learning from that strength?
Finally, you've asked me to talk about resilience. I have to say, I hate this word. I hate this as a Lebanese. I hate this word as a woman. I hate this word. We constantly heap praise on ourselves as if being resilient is the goal, and then you just continue to suffer the consequences. Why? Because you are resilient. Resilience doesn't mean that you have to continuously be put in harm's way and to suffer only to prove that you can survive it. We shouldn't have to be put to that test. We're only resilient because we have to be, because we have no choice. But yes, women are incredibly resilient, just brutally, shockingly so. And women who are working in crisis contexts and working on the front lines, that is where the real resilience is. They are the world's social safety net. They will pick up whatever they have, do whatever they can with whatever they've got. They always know who needs help, how to help them, how to reach them, what's happening. They have the fingers on the pulse of the security situation. They know when it's deteriorating, when it's increasing. They are the early warning system. Working with those women teaches us all that resilience isn't abstract. It's not a theory. It is something that is practiced, that is daily. It is quiet. It is something that we do without even knowing that we do it. It is something we do because we don't have options, we don't have opportunities, we don't have resources, we don't have a choice. So what I see over and over again is women picking up the scraps and working miracles with pennies. Organizing, supporting families, supporting communities, building systems, even when the systems around them let them down, even when everything is failing and breaking. What women never seem to give up is their responsibility to others, to the greater good, to the next generation. We don't do that. And that is a strength, that is beautiful, that is a gift. But this resilience is going to deplete us. We have to find ways to tap into each other, collective resilience, not individual, surviving by supporting each other, especially now in this socio-political climate where we are getting hit from all sides. I think the rest of us all just need to learn that resilience isn't just about endurance and how much you can weather the storm. And it's not an excuse for continuing to heap difficulties and burdens onto women because they're resilient. It's about solidarity and care and creativity and connection and our innate refusal to accept injustice as anything that is normal. It's our ability to fight no matter what, even if it exhausts and depletes us.
Yeah, so we've heard from her and we're so grateful. And now let me see the comments. I cannot see a question, but I'm happy that you're actually giving your comment. Someone says, Barbara is absolutely right. Empowering women truly means empowering an entire nation. When women rise, families, communities, and entire economies rise with them. What holds many women back is staying in the comfort zone, but the truth is we can. We are capable, powerful, and ready. There's no more time to wait or hesitate. This is the moment to step out with courage, create the opportunities we need, and actively build spaces where women can lead and shape meaningful change. And also, someone says collaboration and inclusion of women allows for transformation in the communities. So, I think now, since we do not have any question, I would want, before we wrap up, maybe Barbara can give us just one last piece of advice about giving and gaming, and also Elizabeth can go next and we can finish. So, Barbara,
Okay.
you can start.
Thank you very much, Shireen. I'm going to talk about 2 points. One is dependency. I call it the dependency syndrome. Women, we need to stop having the dependency syndrome, because everything you think you don't have, you can have. It's only you stopping yourself from getting it. You do not need to depend on somebody else. The only time you need to be with somebody else is if you're working with them, is if they are adding value, is if you're driving a solution together, but not being dependent. The other thing, a woman knows another woman's issue. Everything that all the women are going through, another woman has gone through. So if you have learned to overcome, why not hold another's hand? And a lot of us fail our fellow women when we come to such spaces, because we have to prove a point. But to who are we proving the point? So my thing is, let's stop being dependent, because we are not. We have whatever it takes to be the best versions of ourselves and drive success in our communities. The other thing is, you cannot succeed, neither can you leave a legacy, if you have not held someone's hand. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we are
It's
so
been a
happy to
pleasure.
have you. It's been a pleasure too. If someone wants to get mentorship from you, how can they reach you? You can keep it as brief as possible. Can you hear me? I think we've lost you. I wanted to ask.
Is it my internet?
Yes. Okay. We can hear you now. I think we've lost.
Okay. Did you say if someone wanted mentorship?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, they can reach out to me on my LinkedIn page.
Okay.
So you just type in my name, you'll get to me.
Okay.
I think you might have to put both my name, Bab is there so that people can see the name. But you can reach out to me privately.
Okay.
I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And we can start the journey from there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. So, Elizabeth, we can hear your final comments and as we wrap up, and also any advice you would want to give people.
Yeah, just like Barbara has said, we have everything it takes. you really just have to start from where you were. You shouldn't be, as a young person, as a woman out there, as somebody just trying to create something for your life. Start where you are. You have everything it takes. So start with what you have, where you are, mentor somebody, give somebody some advice, take action. You don't really have to wait for like big fundings. You don't need to wait for like organizations to come and help you and support you. Start with what you have and where you are. And if you're somewhere, you can mentor one person and just know like this is a chain. It's a chain reaction. You mentor one person, then they change another person's life. And that is the only way we're going to transform our community. And if you're a woman out there, support other women, support their businesses. Women have a lot, there are a lot of small businesses by women, small and big businesses. Support women in businesses, support women in agriculture, buy their products, because women work so hard and sometimes they don't get the fruits of their labor. So if you can support a woman, support a woman. And if you have a business, tell me, I'm going to support you if I can. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Has been such a productive session. And Barbara, we will be in touch on LinkedIn and everybody else. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And you, how can we reach you? For Barbara, her other name is Barbara Kasekende if you want to reach her. So, uh,
Also me on LinkedIn, Elizabeth Muthoni Nderitu. I think maybe if I type it in the comment section, but basically Elizabeth Muthoni Nderitu.
okay.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. Thank you so much to everyone that has managed to join us today. And we are so grateful, even if we've gone a little bit past time. We hope you've learned something. And this discussion, we can take it further from here. So we are going to see the social media links to Women Full Voice. You can join us. We are a community that really enjoys helping women, and we would want to know each one of you more. So thank you so much for attending the session, and I hope you had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.